try to say a different thing. Let's do it one more time. So welcome to the conference, right? That's fine. I can cut you. Would you like to take a mic? Or that's fine. Okay, that's fine. So let me bring up to speed my slides, because usually speakers are behind the slides, but today I'm ahead of slides. So, a little bit of product placement for those of you who did attend morning talk. I usually don't do the product placement because I didn't have the product of my own, but right now I do have. I wrote a book recently published last month, so I would like to share my happiness with you. That was a tough journey, but it was worth to write something. So that's that. You can go to the page executive/agile.com. There is a link to Amazon. Everything is there. And there is my page, my personal page. I'm from the company Grand Parade, which is a part of the big group Evoke. Grand Parade is a Polish entity of the global company. It has like 400 engineers in Krakow, and I'm heading this organization. Okay, so we already talked about why do we build teams to achieve common goal. Yay, we were good at that. And one more thing that I wanted to emphasize to you is like, why do we talk about building teams? I'm an engineer, and I think that building, the word build, is for like the concrete creation, right? Software or the building a house, but building the team, come on. But the three aspects that you actually mentioned at the beginning is the people, processes, and technology. So we say build the teams because we try to connect all the dots together, because we have people and their knowledge. So people do the stuff, but also they know something that we need to capture and share across the teams, for example, in cross-functional team. And we have some tools, as we discussed already, and we need to have some processes. Once we are growing, we are scaling up, we need to have some processes to set it up. And at the end of the day, it's all about the relationships. So we give people, as a company owner, we give people space to collaborate and to produce something. So to build relationships together. So that's the first model of the, when I mentioned about finding the good sweet spot. In Polish we say we want to have a cake and to eat a cake. Not sure if that's the transition link to English. But for example, executive guys and CFO guys want to have high quality, innovative product, ownership for the people, from the people who are owning the product, and utilization on the high rate, which is not possible. So there are a few models that I will tell you what during my career, like I spent almost 20 years in IT, so I saw some models. Some companies were implementing this model and then coming back to the old model, back and forth. So one model is component team. So we have teams of components, like database component, backend component, front-end component, and so on and so forth, right? But what is happening, we create silos. Because then database guys, like when we have Oracle, for example, old school Oracle, SQL procedures, they are sort of, they understand each other, they have their own language, but they don't understand front-end guys. Any database guys on the audience? No brave enough guys. Oh, you are the one. So you know what I'm talking about. Not anymore. Yeah, but you can understand the specific thing of working as a DBA, right? And so on and so forth. So we have silos, which is not good, right? Because we are not exchanging the knowledge. So then someone invented project teams and said, hey, so we will be grabbing people for the it should be a project A, project B at the top. We will be grabbing people for a certain amount of time to fulfill the need of client. We will call it project. Project will start, will end, and then we'll start the other project. So obviously this team is formed just for a certain amount of time, which may be okay if only there are no errors in the project, no bugs, no enhancements, no misunderstanding. Because what happens is that people are usually assigned to multiple projects. Do you know this type of issue? Yes, nodding. I see the nodding. So if you are assigned to multiple projects, even 2, 3, 4, how you can prioritize your time and divide your time in an Excel spreadsheet is easy to divide, right? After you spend some time on the project, you need to book the hours, so it's not so easy to divide the time. But how to divide the motivation, how to divide your commitment, it's difficult. So we end up with having multiple people in multiple projects, which clashes with each other, the projects clashes with each other. So that's difficult. So then people come up with product teams and say that's the conversation that we need to have with executives and say, hey, you see the issues, dependency management between projects? Yes. Okay, so let's switch to product environment where people will be assigned fully for product A, product B. There will be cross-functional team, consists of all those various different roles and guys. And they will be dedicated full-time forever. Almost forever, by the next chapter of the career, right? So let's do that. Okay, and we do that. We do. Who was that? I think Bezos was that from Amazon. He said, "You build it, you run it," right? So sorry. Okay. All right. Yeah, but still, yeah, you build it, you run it, you are accountable for that. Okay. And then CFO comes to the plate and say, hey, why are those guys not working while we are paying them? And we try to explain, the ownership, the quality, we are waiting for the next big release from the other client to integrate, so this product needs to wait. Right now they are doing some learning stuff, and he's like, learning? What they are learning for? We pay them not to learn, we pay them to work. Give them something to work. And that's how we ruin the setup of the product team, right? Because the product team gets some additional work because they can, and apparently they end up with 2 products, 3 products, or even 1 product and 1 project. That's the nightmare. But improvement. And the brilliant idea that someone came across, while I saw that in the consulting environment when I was working in a consulting environment as engineer. Anyone have heard about talent pool? Okay, so it works like this, that we have talent pool, so all the people in the organization in one big bucket, and once we have something to do, we grab those people forming the project, and they are working on the project for a client A. And then if the client B comes in, we grab other people, give to the client B for the project to client B. Somehow, it usually end up that way that some of the people or most of them from project A goes to the project B directly once project A is finished. But there is no assumption about the bugs, about enhancements again. So those people who are billing, and there is a term, I have it on the slides as well, billable hours. Have you heard about the billable hours? Yes, everyone needs to be billable. Exactly. So we are billable on this side for this particular client, and we finish that. We are going to the next client. We are billable for the next client, and the first client calls you and says, hey, John, could you help me? I know that you are in a different project, but I have a real issue. We know each other, could you help me? That's your code at the end of the day. So what you do, you try to help this guy, but you are billable for this guy, so it's a nightmare. How to do that? You do the overtime. So that's that. Yeah, billable project, right? They call people resource on the bench, right? Have you heard about that? Yes, the nightmare. Okay, so there's more polite way to have it. we have a learning time. We are not on the bench. We are not the resources. We are people who are having a learning time. And then CFO asks, what? Learning time? Come on. We are not paying for learning. And then I'm showing you that because the cross-functionality comes to play. So imagine that, and I haven't seen any other setup other than what I show you. And imagine you have all those setups, and now CTO comes and say, hey, we need to have cross-functional team. Everyone needs to know everything about everything. It's not obviously possible, but cross-functionality is so sexy because it promises autonomy and it gives the hope for self-organization. And I'm talking about promising and it gives hope, giving a hope. Because autonomy can be there if the team is fully or almost fully cross-functional, because they can rely on each other. They don't need any help from outside. But this is not just an assumption that they will be. They may be, but this is not the only thing to be autonomous. And the same with the self-organization. If the team is well matured, they know each other. Obviously they don't know everything from the domains, but they can understand each other and speak together. They can self-organize. They don't need any managers, leaders, scrum masters. By the way, that's off topic, but I've heard on one conference, and the guy was, I think, Jarek Pałka. Do you know Jarek Pałka? Yeah, Jarek Pałka is well known. And he said something like this, that, do you know why we have all those roles like scrum masters, agile coaches, project managers, people managers, leaders? Who brought them to the company? And people were like, no, we don't know. Maybe executives. And Jarek was like, you brought them to the company. You brought them to the company because you were not self-organized. You were not able to, in the bigger group, to organize well. So the CEO or the director of transformation came to the idea, okay, they are not able to get along together. We need to give them someone to manage this process. So that's how it started. Obviously, it's not so easy, and self-organization is not so easy in a big organization especially. But it's on us. It's on us to do it. And this environment was before COVID, right? Complex, difficult, challenging. And right now, how to set it up in a remote work, because everyone wants to work remotely. Why do we like to have remote work? Because it promises freedom. Again, we are flexible usually when we work from home. We don't travel, we don't commute to the offices. We may want to, in my company, we are so flexible that you can do some stuff during the day, like go to the kindergarten if you need, or to the doctor. We pay attention on the result, not on the time when you are in the office. Obviously, when you are online, obviously you need to have a time with your team, but we don't track it that someone is, from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. That's it. People can easily juggle those hours. So that's okay, but it just promised freedom. Because 98% of us want to work remotely, according to buffer.com. They had research, and obviously everyone wants to work remotely, right? But what does it mean to work remotely? Is it so good for us? It can mean this thing. Does it look like freedom? Obviously, at the beginning, during pandemic, during lockdown, it was fun, right? Everyone was on the call. Everything was moved to online. We were sort of engaged. But we know that this is not the real fun of work, especially for engineers who may be in this introverted aspect of things. It's difficult. For me, it's difficult to be on the calls from the morning, and such a big calls. There are some data from pandemic, so actually between 2020 and 2022, and Harvard Business Review done that, and they said that during pandemic, the average remote meeting length dropped. I mean, not drastically, but reduced, which is a good sign, right? We have shorter meetings. but at the same time, average number of meetings grew. So it doesn't look like it's freedom, it's flexibility, because what we do more shorter meetings. And I can tell you from my calendar, because of my role, I have a very intense calendar, let's put it that way. So before pandemic, I had like 7 or 8 meetings per day for around 1 hour each, right? So the whole day pretty much with the meetings. 1 hour here, 1 hour there, 45 minutes here and 45 minutes there. Now I have 30 minutes meeting, but again from the morning to the evening because I have the time in the calendar. So I end up with like 12, 14 meetings during one day, and every meeting is from the different perspective, different context, different topic. It is a total nightmare. Even if I'm at home, even if I'm not commuting to work, it's difficult to manage to have this the switch in my brain. During pandemic, we said that this phrase. Have you seen that phrase? Everyone was talking about that, right? A conversation that could have been an email. Why do we need to schedule the meeting? I agree. But there is the other side of the coin. An email that could have been a conversation, that should have been a conversation, actually. I would like to introduce you to this person, Vanessa Bon. She wrote a very interesting book, and she, together with her team at the university, created the research, or led research. They had 45 researchers, and those 45 researchers asked 450 questions, to random people. That was questions, that was more request, not a question. And obviously, what they found out, that face-to-face request is 34, they calculated 34 times more efficient and effective than email or online. Because that's pretty easy. I think that you feel that if you send an email saying, hey, by the way, could you fill up the survey? Forget about it, right? No one will respond to this email. Maybe your friend, your colleague, your very well known colleague, but no one will respond, right? Exactly. And when you ask face-to-face, hey, you know, I'm doing my PhD. I'm not doing my PhD, but just example. I'm doing my PhD. I have this amount of data. I need more data. Could you help me, right? Could you help me? You will definitely help this person. So obviously, we would like to switch to online, but we need to remember about that. From mental health perspective, 69% of remote workers reported the burn-down due to remote communication. Remember this slide with all the Zoom windows and people waving? I can guess that this is because of that. Mental health perspective, again, 67% of remote workers admitted that it's more difficult to build relationships. So that's the data. And 53% of remote workers admitted it's more difficult to build relationships with others at work. In a remote environment, with others at work. The data is not so relevant here. The relevance is the perspective, that we want to work from home remotely, but if we ask people how they feel, the data shows that at least half of them, they are not happy. This is from Harvard Business Review as well. This is very important, actually, from the cultural perspective. They say that you have two colors. The blue one is on-site employees, and the orange one is remote employees. And there are some questions that they were answering. So the first one, colleagues doesn't fight for my priorities. If we work remotely, people feel, it doesn't mean that it is like this, but people feel that colleagues doesn't fight for the priorities. Okay, maybe we demand too much from our colleagues. But the second question is, colleagues say bad things about me behind my back. And again, people who are working online feel much worse, feel that something is going on behind their backs, right? The third question, colleagues make changes to a project without warning me. That's tricky how to do it in the pull request systems in Git, but it is like this as well. And colleagues lobby against me with others. That's strong. That's strong. I don't even realize that we can ask those type of questions in the corporations, but they realize that. The productivity perspective on the remote work. 35% of remote workers feel more productive while working from home. Okay, that's fine that they feel more productive, but actually when I was speaking with the engineers at the beginning of pandemic, 99% or 100% of the people were admitting, yes, we are more productive from home, right? Because obviously, what do you answer your CEO during the survey, right, in the company? But they say that just 35% of people feel more productive at home. Right now, it can be actually different because those are the data from pandemic. So maybe people, got fed up with all this pandemic stuff. And CEO perspective: 73% of CEOs believes that remote working increases the risks of cybersecurity. I doubt why it's not 100% because we work remotely. There's a cybersecurity issues, right? Yeah, always. 95% of CEOs believes that employees need to be in the office to maintain the culture of the organization. In the morning, we talked a little bit about culture, how to set it up, and why it's important. Okay, and with those data, still 98% of people, including CEOs, I guess, including executives, want to work remotely. That's a difficult thing. Actually, working remotely is not so new thing because we have distributed organizations, right? We have nowadays almost all the organizations are global. So we have many people all over the world, and we need to live with that, and we need to take advantage of working remotely. So there is a question: remote or from the office? Co-located in one country, for example, or distributed across all the countries. Cross-functional or specialized, so the silos or cross-functional. So in Grand Parade, we chose remote, distributed, cross-functional teams. And how we set it up? And in the hybrid environment, so it's even more difficult. I'm joking that when my mother asked me, what do you do at work? And I told her, oh, you know what? I build hybrid distributed cross-functional teams. She was like, what? Yeah, so she didn't get it anyhow. So I told her, okay, I connect people and knowledge. I gave them processes. I give them tools and define the processes, how to use those tools. And I give them the space to build relationships. And she said, oh, this one I sort of get it. That makes sense. Obviously, in a hybrid distributed working environment, right? Which is difficult. But if we see the building teams from this perspective, that we need to connect people, knowledge, tools, and they need to build relationships between each other, it's easier to discuss how to do that. So that's the real case scenario from my company. We have 19 nationalities in Poland. I mean, globally it's even more, but in Poland we have very diverse population, 19 nationalities. 120 teams around, we have small teams. We have 7 locations across the globe right now, even 9. We went through the acquisition, so we have 7 tools to work together. We have Zoom, we have Teams, we have Slack, all the things, and right now the most painful thing is how to convince people to use one tool, because those who use Slack, myself included, we want to use Slack because it's great, right? But those guys who use Teams, they don't want to learn Slack. And on the other hand, for me, Teams is a very old-fashioned tool, and I don't want to even use Teams. So that's difficult, right? How to merge those people to at least convince them to be online, either on all the tools or on one tool. That was a big challenge, and we end up with 2 tools to communicate, not 7, but again, we have 2. What do? We have 4 large gatherings during the year. So we try to fly people to one location each time, to first things first, have the trip to other location, get to know people, and to be together. From the team perspective, we have diverse and inclusive environment from the nationality perspective, gender perspective, and all of that. It is very important for us because various people have different point of views, and we would like to use that. We create a space to share opinions, try to create safe space. Obviously, if CEOs are going to people and say, hey, you know, it's a safe space, you can, there is no blaming culture, right? Until the first real production issue, there is always the question, okay, but who was in charge of that? So that's difficult, but our board members and executives are really good in creating safe space. And what we do, we focus on onboarding. The onboarding should be very well defined, very smooth. I've heard about companies who just give the laptop, send the laptop via post, and that's it. And you need to find yourself in the company. That's difficult, so pay attention on onboarding. When you have new person, invest the time, spend the time with him or her, either online or the best face-to-face. Grab the team saying, hey, let's come together to the office once per, I don't know, month or 2 weeks, whatever fits you, but for this guy, that this guy will not feel alone. Focus on the results. I mentioned already that we don't track when people are in the office or when people are online. We just focus on the result. It is important. Sometimes it's difficult for leaders to understand that, but it's important that if person is not active during the day, I mean for 1-2 hours, and he or she is not needed, that's fine if only he or she deliver what they committed to. From individual perspective, do ask about people's feeling. Hey, how do you feel? And I know that it can sound tricky for us as engineers, but if we don't meet face to face, there is no like this non-verbal communication. You need to upfront, first things first, schedule some time to just chit-chat with people and then ask, hey, how are you today? But not just, how are you? I'm fine, good. How are you? Thank you, right? Not this type of dialogue, but to deeply ask, hey, are you okay? Is it something important going on in your life right now? Everything's fine. As a leader, especially, you need to, because people would like to be heard, right? And you need to ask them first and then listen. Meet in person, I already discussed that it's important for us to build relationships once per some time and celebrate individual successes. That's very important because especially in online environment, when we are online, it's difficult for us to just stop and celebrate successes. You deliver the project is delivered, done. Okay, there is a next meeting within the next hour with a new project or new feature, right? Or you do the retrospective and just right away you have the planning of next sprint. When we were in the office, it was easier to just say, hey, let's grab a coffee. Hey, let's go for a beer in the afternoon. If we are online, it's easier to move from one project to another without appreciating what we've done as a team. So celebrate successes. And obviously ask for the feedback, especially if you are the leader. Ask your people, hey, how do you like working with me? Is there anything that I can change? Do not be afraid because, if you are on the learning curve, so you can ask for the feedback. And at the end, I would like to advise you to search this research, and this guy, Robert Waldinger, he was and he is leading the longest research that was ever made. I think it started in 1934, and it's going still. So every year they had, like, I think 800 or 700 group of people, and every year they examine them from the medical perspective, from the survey perspective. They ask how do they feel, and so on. That's a beautiful animation from yesterday. Yes, 1938, before Second World War, they started that. 724 people, 60 of them are still alive, and there was a diverse team, a diverse group of people who are on the bottom of the society and went up to the ladder. He explains that on this YouTube video, TEDx video that I mentioned. So there were people who claimed all the way up to the ladder, corporate but social ladder as well. There were people who were on the top and went down. There were some people who developed alcoholism, who developed schizophrenia, and they were asking all the people what keep them up at night, or what brings them joy in life. That's the example of the guy. He started here and is around 87 years right now. And they found out that building high-quality relationships keeps us happy and healthy. So no matter what, there was even one president of the United States. They didn't say which one, but there was one in this group. And they found out that it's not about money, it's not about position, it's not about career, it is about deep relationships. And that's full stop. Before that, I just would like to explain to you why it's important, because I usually got the questions, okay, but we have family, we have friends, why do we need to build close relationships at work? And obviously we don't need to, right? To be happy, we can have the relationships somewhere else. The question is, if we invest so much energy and time at work, does it bring back some revenue, emotional revenue? So bring back something, not only money, but something else. And if you invest in building high-quality relationships at work, you will be able to get more happiness, more joy out of the time that you invest in the company, right? So that's my strategy. Despite my role, despite the organization, I have some high-quality relationships in the company. I invest the time to build that, and I really enjoy it. So I wish you the same. If not at work, focus on building high-quality relationships in your spare time. So with that, thank you very much for the time today. I think that's not the last talk. There's one more talk. Let's stay connected, and it was good to speak to you. Thank you very much.